Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second week of Devtoberfest. This is the second session today on our MED track. And if you are worried what MED means, nothing to worry about. It's just machine learning, AI, and data. So before we start the session, let me remind you about the Devtoberfest page in SAP community, where you can find more various activities to participate in our 4 weeks event. And check it out to win points and for the grand prize, which is retreat at one of SAP Tech at Roadshow stops in 2025. Now, without delaying, let me introduce today's speakers. So we have Abhi and Raj, and they are joining us from Amazon Web Services. They're going to tell us about our partnership and which models you can access via Generative AI Hub in SAP Business Technology platform. Abhi, Raj, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining this session today. Welcome to how to build a GenAI application using SAP Generative AI Hub and Amazon Bedrock. My name is Abhi Shivaditya. I'm a senior solutions architect, and I work on all things AI/ML with SAP.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rajeshwari Maladi. Thanks again for joining us today. I'm a principal solution architect with AWS, and I'm aligned to SAP here, working on SAP BTP, data analytics, and also SAP customer experience, and very excited to join Abhi on this session today.
All right. Well, let's get into it. We have a short but action-packed agenda. First, let's go through why would you want to build your GenAI applications with Bedrock models in GenAI Hub. It's going to be the first part of our session. And then by the end of this session, in the second part, you will have a comprehensive how-to walkthrough on how to set up GenAI Hub so that you can consume the Bedrock models within your applications. Please note that there will be several QR codes that you will see during the presentation on the slides. Feel free to pause the video if you're reviewing the recording or take a quick snapshot on your phone, and you should be able to get links to various GitHub links and documentation that we'll talk about. All right, without any further ado, let's get into it. Section 1, why? Let's first step back and ask, why SAP GenAI Hub? And in short, SAP's GenAI Hub is a single stop window for you to consume as many models as possible, which have been identified by SAP. SAP have cherry-picked a few of the best models out there for you and reinforced them on your behalf with a lot of SAP-specific guardrails and orchestration capabilities. Many of these components are powered by AWS behind the scenes. SAP's recommended set of models and components have gone through a comprehensive legal and risk assessment done centrally for you by SAP so that you can actually get that jump start into thinking about your business use cases and building rather than thinking about the baseline aspects. This includes SAP-specific content filtering and risk mitigation enforcements with guardrails. It's effectively a compliant approach, an SAP compliant approach to safely access these LLMs and protect against business and legal risks. The choice of language models helps you enable even advanced use cases like RAG for indexing and retrieval and agentic workflows as well. In short, if you are working in the SAP ecosystem with SAP data or SAP systems, and you want to build a Gen AI feature with your application, your first stop should be SAP Gen AI Hub on BTP. So where does Amazon come into all of this? Well, Amazon is providing models through Amazon Bedrock within the Generative AI Hub. Specifically, we have the Amazon Titan Modern family, as well as the Anthropic Claude family. These are some of the most powerful models out there, And you must have seen many of these in a lot of the leaderboards in various third-party aspects. Let me quickly show you which are the specific models that are activated, and we are working closely with SAP to enable even more models for your consumption. Here are the Claude 3 Sonnet, Haiku, and Opus models, as well as the one that I've highlighted, which we'll be using today, Claude 3.5 Sonnet. These are very powerful models, both, and we'll talk about these in depth later on. We also have the Amazon Titan Embed Text, the Amazon Titan Text Lite, and Text Express models. These are embedding models as well as text-to-text models for your consumption. Here's the first QR code if you want to bookmark it so that you have a good idea of where to look for when more of these models come in. This is a very good checkpoint. Now I'd like to hand it over to Raj for understanding why you should be using some of these models. Take it away, Raj.
Yeah, thanks, Abhi. So before talking about the models, I want to just talk about the region availability. And here we are actually showing a screenshot from the SAP BTP Discovery Center. And if you want to look at it yourself and explore, here is the QR code for it. So over here we are looking at SAP AI Core, and as you can see, the way we highlighted there, SAP AI Core is available within 4 AWS regions: Sydney, Frankfurt, Tokyo, and Virginia. And one other thing I would like to call out on this slide is that the GenAI Hub is available in the extended service plan over here. So you may want to make a note of it. That's important. And it you need GenAI Hub because that is the subservice within the SAP AI Core that provides access to the pre-trained models for you to use for GenAI. Now, now that we talked about the regions, I would like to take a few minutes and compare the costs between Amazon Bedrock models and the other models available in the GenAI Hub. Also, one thing I would like to call out here is that you will see the comparison done using the uh, the the cost provided as capacity units. So this is just SAP's way of using a currency agnostic way of consumption metrics, so that it's a like to like comparison irrespective of the country from which you're viewing. And in this comparison, we have actually done like-to-like model comparisons, and we'll walk you through it. For the first one, again, the comparison is based upon 1 million tokens. That's about 750K words in English language, or 3,000 pages of text. And here you can see the first comparison we are doing is between Anthropic Claude 3.5 and GPT 4.0 models. And in this particular scenario, we see that the Claude is about 3% cheaper than the GPT 4.0 model. And continuing on the costs, for the next comparison, we look at the price comparison between the Anthropic Claude 3 Haiku and Amazon Bedrock and the GPT 3.5 Turbo models. And over here, as you can see, we see that the Anthropic Claude 3 Haiku models is about 48% cheaper. That's pretty significant, right? 48% cheaper than the GPT 3.5 Turbo models. And in the very next page, we compare the Amazon Titan Text Lite model with the GPT 3.5 Turbo model. And over here, it's even significant, right? It's 66% cheaper. The Amazon Titan Text Lite is 66% cheaper than the GPT 3.5 model. It is an amazing model to use if you are working on Q&A, summarization, or building RAG pipelines, and it can be a great cost effective for you to use. With that, turn it over to Abhi.
Thanks, Raj. Let's talk about performance, because we have to balance costs with performance as well. We'll talk about the Anthropic models as well as the Titan models in this page. The takeaway for you on this slide is Anthropic has been built with responsible AI, safety, and explainability aspects right from the get-go. In fact, we've seen many uses of the Claude family of models as a front end or a first model in the model pipeline for content moderation to filter and identify and prevent violations ahead of time before a more specific model is used behind the scenes. It could be a fine-tuned model, it could be a separate model. Claude models are multimodal, which means if you're working with image or vision-based inputs and text simultaneously, these are very good models and excellent models that have provided their a lot of benchmarks on these combined aspects. So imagine if you're working to extract information from a chart, which is in an image, and ask questions on it. These are very, very powerful scenarios where Claude models excel. Claude models also have massive input context length. And as you know, 200K tokens are quite massive. These are transformer-based architectures. And as you know, as the context length increases, the memory usage or the memory requirements for these models also increase, actually in quadratic fashion. So Claude has balanced both. It gives you just the right performance at a massive 200K token limit for each of your incoming inputs for all of your input payloads. These models have also been extensively used, both Claude and Titan models, for tool use and agentic use. Specifically, if you have APIs that you want to be called from these models that are embedded in your applications, you can traditionally what was known as function calling as well as agentic actions and calling from one agent to another. These are specific use cases where these models significantly excel. And I would invite you to try them out in your respective applications. Right on. So let's get moving. We are doing good on time. Let's go through the comprehensive how-to walkthrough because there are a few steps that you need to follow within the BTP AI core to activate the GenAI Hub and then start to consume the Bedrock models. For that, I'm going to share the first step, which is activating the BTP entitlements, specifically the extended service plan. And for that, I'll hand it over to Raj. Take it away.
Yeah. Thanks, Ravi. Thanks, Abhi. So here for we'll take a look at the entitlements, and here I'm in my sub account of BTP. And the first step is to check for your entitlements. So on the left, you click on the entitlements, and we are making sure we are looking at the AI core, and you want to make sure you have the extended service plan. And we also look at AI Launchpad, and you want to have like a standard service plan for it. So these are the two things that you want to check. In case you are missing these entitlements, you may want to work with your global admin to get these added for you. And in case you want to look at further documentation on this, here is a QR code. You can take a snapshot of it. And we also have documentation on this further in case you are missing any entitlements and you want to add a different service plan. Here is additional documentation that you can look into if you want to have a step-by-step instructions. We'll give you a minute to take a snapshot of that. All right. So now that we have looked at the entitlements, the next thing we'll be looking at is looking at space roles. And Spaces, Cloud Foundry Spaces is a space that provides users with access to a shared location for application development, deployment, and maintenance. An organization can have multiple spaces. And for doing this, you want to ensure you are an org manager. And we go into spaces here, and you can either pick an existing space or you can create a new space. And next, we are going to show you how to add a member to this space. And Creating spaces is a prerequisite that is required because we'll be showing you how we are using this in a future step here. So we have added our test user here to the space, and now this prerequisite is now complete. So the next one we are going to look at is the booster. So before we get into the demo, I just want to talk a little bit about the booster. So boosters are a great way for you to understand, quickly set up the services in BTP. And the first one we are looking at is the SAP AI Core, which is a service in SAP BTP that is designed to handle the execution and operations of your AI assets in a standard, scalable, and hyperscaler agnostic way. To access boosters, you want to be in your global account. And on the left, when we click on boosters, you come into this page and you can then first find SAP AI Core, and then this is just a simple wizard that you can use to create the booster, to create the SAP AI Core using the booster. You can either pick an existing sub account or you can choose a new account. In this case, we just picked an existing sub account. And the next important thing, as we said earlier, is to ensure you are picking the extended service plan. So we have picked the extended service plan for SAP AI Core, and we picked the dev space to which we have added a user earlier. So this is the next important step that you want to take care of. And once this is done, that's it. As you can see, it's really straightforward to configure the services via the boosters, and you just hit finish and wait for it to complete. So once complete, you can navigate to the sub account and yeah, so we are actually going to, we navigate to the sub account here. And as you can see, we are looking at the AI Core service. And the next thing you want to do is creating a service key. So first you provide the service key name and you create the service key. It takes a few seconds for the service key to get created. And this is also a prerequisite. We will show you how we are using service key in a future demo in the series here. And then once the service key is created, you want to download the service key. And then so you have downloaded the service key. So I think you are good with this step of setting up SAP AI Core service. And the next one we are going to look at is, so before we get into the demo, just a few things on the AI Launchpad. So as you can see, this is our fourth step for setting up the AI Launchpad. And again, here we are using a booster as well. And SAP AI Launchpad enables users to transparently manage AI models across the enterprise. And it allows you to connect to multiple AI runtimes, including the SAP AI Core, and centralize the lifecycle management of your AI scenarios. So for this, again, we are here in our global account. We click on the boosters, then we look at AI Launchpad. And once that is done, we search for it, AI Launchpad, and we pick that service. And you'll see it is very similar. The setup is very similar to the one we have done for the SAP AI Core. And so we start the booster. Again, same thing here, pick an existing account or create a new account. And for this AI Launchpad, you want to select the standard service plan. So make a note of it. You need to select the standard service plan, and then we pick the existing sub account, and then we pick the dev space that we created earlier. And this takes a few minutes to complete, and you are able to go to your sub account. If you want to look at it, what has been created, you can look at it in your sub account. All right. Now that we have completed creating entitlements, space roles. We created the AI core and AI Launchpad with the boosters. Now it's time for role collections. So you may ask, why do you need this? So we want to ensure your user has the right, because we install the AI core and Launchpad, we want to ensure they are assigned the right role collections. For this, you go again in your sub account, you click on the users, and you pick the user that you are interested in. And over here, we go into their role collections. And here, we are going to pick a bunch of roles, right? Like AI Launchpad admin, you need some role for connections, GenAI Hub administrator, and um, so the video is showing how you can just pick them from this interface, all the different role collections for your user. And once you are done with it, you can assign the role collections for the user, and you can see we have assigned all of it. And if you want to look at the full set of role collections that you need, here is a QR code you can bookmark. This gives you a screenshot of all the different role collections that you need for this setup. Okay, with that, hand it to Abhi to walk us through the next few steps.
Great. Thank you, Raj. So let's talk about how to now use the AI Launchpad and AI Core that we just set up to actually consume the Bedrock models. So the first step is to connect or configure the AI Launchpad with AI Core credentials. And this is where that service key that we just saw is going to be helpful. AI Launchpad is basically a user interface within BTP that's a single window for all things to do inside of AI Core. We'll use them to deploy, orchestrate, and you can even send prompts to the Bedrock models that we'll configure in this way. So remember, we had the service key that we had downloaded. That's the service key that we'll use. We'll go into the AI Core Launchpad, where we can upload the service key that we had just downloaded. We have the connection name. This can be any name that you want, just keep it unique. And once the connection has been established, it will read from your client ID and API URL, etc., and client secret from your service key, create it. And then you can go ahead and you will automatically see that all of the configurations are now visible from your AI Core instance. Here are the few configurations that I've already created. Here are the few deployments. That's going to be our next step, where we'll create a new configuration and new deployment for the Anthropic Claude Sonnet 3.5 model. Let's take a look at that. First, we'll create a configuration. So we'll go back into our SAP AI Launchpad. We'll take a look at the same AI Core connection that we created previously. We'll go into configurations. And think of configurations as selecting the model provider, creating a template for creating the access to the foundation models. This is the scenario list, and ensure that you see the foundation model scenario in your AI Launchpad. This will only appear if you have the extended service plan. So this is an important note. Let's go into configuration and create a brand new one. You can create a configuration name. This can be any name, just keep it unique. Typically, you'd want to select or add the name of the model that you are about to select. Some people also prefer to add maybe a cost center or a billing team name, or maybe an application name at this stage. You're free to do so. Select the same foundation model scenario. Version can be this one. And this is an important step. Choose AWS Bedrock as the executable. Now, here is where we select the model. By default, it populates with Titan Text Express. And you can override this with any model of your choosing. And where do you find the list of models? It's on this documentation page. We'll drop the link here as well as in the QR code. We'll pause for a little bit so that you can take a snapshot of this. And now if you scroll down on this list, you will see all of the models that are available within GenAI Hub. Let's take a closer look at the ones available via AWS Bedrock. And here are the Claude and Titan models. Specifically, we're going to use the Claude 3.5 Sonnet. So let's copy that string and paste it over here. Now, note here, the white spaces are important. I've made this mistake before. So ensure that there's no white spaces at the end of it. Very silly mistake, but typically I have fallen prey to it. You also have the option of providing the model version, which you can pick from the same documentation page. It's safe to leave it as latest as well, but if you do want to pin your model version to a particular one, you have the ability to override this latest string. Again, pay attention to the white space at this stage. Let's quickly review what are the configurations that we are about to make. This is for Claude Sonnet 3.5 with the latest model version. Here we go. We are now creating that configuration. Great. Let's now go to the next step, which is creating a deployment now out of this configuration. So we have a couple of different ways. We can restart at the same page at the configuration. We can either go into create complete deployment here, or we can go into the deployments tab and create a brand new one. As you can see, I have a few already created, but I want to create a brand new one for you so that you know how to do this. We'll go back to the same configuration that we just created, Claude Sonnet 3.5 v5, create deployment. Now here's an interesting feature where you have the ability to create a custom duration for your deployment. And you can think of this as an expiry date for your deployment. There are lots of times where this comes in handy for you to reduce cost. If let's say you're done with your testing, if you're upgraded your feature or you're deprecating a feature that no longer uses that particular model, you can set an expiry date so that you don't incur any excess costs. For now, we'll choose the standard and go ahead. Let's take a quick look at what we are about to do. The foundation models from AWS Bedrock and specifically the Claude Sonnet model. Here we go. That's it. So now it's going ahead and deploying that particular model. It's pulling it from the Amazon backend, creating a container for it, deploying it into the AI core instance. And as you can see that now there is a AWS Bedrock, Claude Sonnet, as well as a deployment ID. Let's go ahead. It's going to take a little bit of time. It's saying running right now. I have another one, which I'll show you in just a minute, where you can see that it will populate with the deployment URL. This is a REST API that you can use to send your payloads or prompts into. This is another one where this is the example of that URL that you would need to keep it handy. And you, of course, have the option of updating this deployment with, let's say, a different model or a different configuration for a newer version of the model. And of course, you can stop the model deployment as well. Here's how you update the model deployment. All right. So we have gone through the entire setup process. We have set up the entitlements. We've set up the right Cloud Foundry space roles. We've set up the AI Core Booster and the AI Launchpad Booster. That would set up the role collections as well as the AI Core and AI Launchpad binaries within the BTP environment. We've allocated those role collections to the user that will be using it. And then we've connected the AI Core and AI Launchpad together. And then finally, we've created the configuration, which is basically a template that tells AI Core which model to consume, and then actually created a deployment which will set up that particular model. All right. So now the last part is consuming the Bedrock models from within GenAI Hub. So this is where the rubber hits the road. Let's go ahead and see how to do this. All right. I'm going to show you a sample Jupyter notebook. I'm running this in my environment, but you can run this in any environment that supports Jupyter notebooks. It could be a local machine or it could be a remote machine, no problem at all. And we'll see two different ways of consuming this model. One is using the bare bones REST APIs that AI Core provides you through GenAI Hub. The documentation is here if you want to take a look at it. In fact, I will show you where this notebook that I'm running is on. It's an open source notebook. Go ahead and take a snapshot of this QR code. And if you want to try it out on your own time, you can do that as well. For now, let me walk you through it. The first part is using the AI core credentials. This is the same credentials in your service key that you had used in the previous past. So you would want to keep it safely inside a hidden folder as config.json. This is just an example. Ensure that the auth URL is the one with the authentication string within the URL. You have the client ID secret. The resource group can usually be default. You can override this as well if you'd like to a different resource group. And the base URL will look something like this. Just wanted to provide this because sometimes it's difficult to figure out which URL goes into which variable. Let's load this into the environment variables of this environment. I'm also going to configure Claude 3.5 Sonnet as the target AI core model. You have the option of uncommenting and commenting out the one that you actually want to use. You can use the Titan-based models or the Titan embedding models or even the Haiku models in this manner. Just go ahead and uncomment the one that you'd like. In this notebook, I've created an option for creating the deployment ID also. Notice when we created the deployment in the AI Core Launchpad, it gave us the URL as well as a deployment ID. So another shortcut is to use the deployment ID directly. But I just find it more intuitive to provide the model name, so we'll go with that. This is an optional step. I've commented it out because I'm not going to be using this. Here are a few utility functions. Typically, these utility functions would be hidden, but I intentionally put it out there so that we can walk through it and you understand what's going on behind the scenes. And you can use this as a starting point for your own respective applications as well. This is a simple call API function, which allows you to send a REST-based GET or a POST call to any endpoint. And we'll be using this particular utility function extensively in the next steps. Here's a simple class definition, which holds all of the credentials that we created in the environment variables, as well as the target AI core model. The AI core API requires a JOT or a bearer token, and this is where that token will be generated and stored. This is just for safekeeping for the duration of this Jupyter notebook. Let's go ahead and instantiate that class. Here's another utility function that generates the API access token. This is a lot of boilerplate code that you can just use for your own application. Some of you are probably very familiar with this. There's nothing complicated here, but just generating the access token from the client ID and client secret in this step. This is a third utility function for requesting the AI core API to provide the deployment details. Specifically, we're looking for the AI core, rather deployment URL, and that's the most important piece. What we are doing is we're cycling through all of the deployments and searching for the one that has our target core model. This is the most important step. And remember, we have configured our target AI core model as Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and that's what it's going to look for. You also have the ability to get the deployment ID. We won't be using this aspect, so we can skip this, but you can take a look at your own time. Here's where the crux will happen. We're going to instantiate that class, and what that will do is it will send first a request to the AI core system to generate the access token. This is where it's using your client ID and client secret from your service key. And then second, it's getting the deployment details for the model that we specified, in this case, Claude 3.5 Sonnet. This is an optional step in case you don't want to specify the model name, you want to specify the model ID, you can run this as well, but we won't do this. In this case, it'll skip it because we already have the deployment URL populated through the utility function inside. Here's a function that will actually send the payload to the Generative AI Hub. Now, here's where the rubber hits the road. We are going to set up that environment. This is actually redundant. I've already done this, but we can easily run it again. Here is a format in which the Claude models expect. You can actually change this and look up their documentation on what you want to do. This is a very simple use case. What is the capital of the United States? You can have multiple turns here. You can have function calling here. All of those aspects are possible. We'll generate this data. We'll set up the AI core system, and we'll actually send an invoke to the Generative AI Hub to generate a completion from this. And as you can see, what is the capital of United States? The capital of United States is, in fact, Washington, D.C. We can do the same thing with Titan models as well. I'll invite you to take a look at that in your own time. Let's go and run it very quickly. We'll override the target AI core model with Titan this time. And let's go ahead and reinstantiate. Again, it's done the same workflow, got the access token first, and then got the deployment details for Titan Text Lite. All right, let's go ahead and send the same information or same question. What's the capital of the United States? Take a look. All right, it looks like it is Washington, D.C. Fantastic. As we mentioned before, we also have Titan embedding models, and this is very, very useful, very powerful for setting up your RAG pipelines or retrieval augmented generation pipelines. The embeddings model within a retrieval augmented generation pipeline is actually very, very important. So let me show you an example of that with Titan embedding models as well. Remember, these models are multimodal. You can create embeddings for both images and text. Let's go ahead and do the same workflow. First, get the API token, then get the deployment details for Titan embed text, and then you can go ahead and get the result. Here we go. So what is the capital of United States? The same input string that when you convert it to the numerical representation that is very clearly understood by some of these LLMs and vector engines, this is what that looks like. Translation looks like for AI core, for Titan embedding models. I'm going to clear out this particular output because it's a long list. And then we can go into part 2 for how you can do all of this with the Generative AI Hub SDK that SAP provides to you. For this, I'll invite Raj. Take it away, Raj.
Yeah, thanks, Abhi, for walking us through that. So for the next demo, we are going to look at using the Generative AI Hub SDK for consuming the Amazon Bedrock models, and we'll show you examples of invoking both Anthropic and Titan models as we have seen in the previous demo. So here, obviously, since you are using the SDK, the first step you would like to do is to install the SDK, and then we make use of some of the models here, Chat Bedrock and Get modules here, Chat Bedrock and Get Proxy Client we'll be using. So the first step is to create your proxy client, and then you instantiate the model object. Here, as you can see, we are using Anthropic Claude 3.5 Sonnet. And this is a very simple request we are doing, right? We are trying to ask the model what are the top visitor destinations in New York City. And then we'll go ahead and invoke that. And as you can see, we got the response almost immediately. Again, you can see that by using the SDK, I think it makes it a lot simpler. But I think by looking at the directly calling REST API, we understand what is going behind the scenes, right? The SDK kind of abstracts a lot of that for you for your development purposes. And then similarly, in the next example, we are using the Amazon Text Lite. And this is again another of the models from the Amazon Bedrock. And over here, we are asking it a simple question. Hello, what is the capital of United States? We go ahead, run it, and as you can see, it provided. And again, Amazon, the Titan Text Lite is a pretty fast model. Again, we also compared all the different price comparisons earlier in our session today. So yeah, I mean, this is all there for you. I think you can try it out and test the models best for your use case. And for the next demo, we are going to kind of go into a slightly advanced use case. We are actually going to use Anthropic Claude 3 Sonnet, and we are going to send some requests. So there are 3 steps that are happening here. The first one is we are going to use the user input and actually call Anthropic Claude to convert that user input into SQL query. And then we are going to then send the SQL query to the HANA Cloud instance. And once we get the results, again, we are going to ask Anthropic Claude 3 to convert that into uh, a user-friendly text. So you can see all the supporting helper functions here that are being highlighted. For these are the three main steps that are happening. Okay. So now that we have seen all the helper functions, the three main functions that I called out, now we are going to actually invoke this. And here I'm asking a simple question: how many hotels are there? And so in this case, it is a human readable natural language query that was given, and then that was converted into SQL query that was sent to HANA Cloud, and the results came back and it converted it into a human friendly response. And similarly, we have the second example here listing the top 3 hotels, and that followed the same steps as well. So that brings us to the end of our demo here. We are very happy that you have joined us today. And yeah, Abhi, you want to say a few words?
All good, all good. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Raj. And thanks to SAP for inviting us on the Devtoberfest platform. Hope you learned something today, and I invite you to consume these models, test them out, and send us your feedback on how you find these models.
Superb. Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Abhi. And before I go into the question that I saw in the chat, let me ask you one more, maybe very simple question. I really liked how you went through kind of like step-by-step, thorough process from the beginning till the very end. But I think you still didn't explain what is the difference between Bedrock and Titan.
Yeah, very, very pertinent question. Thanks for that. So Bedrock is the service that makes models like Titan available to customers. Bedrock is consisting of the best models out there from Amazon's model providers, along with its own extended features. Think of it as providing the guardrails for these models, providing functionality for importing custom models, your own fine-tuning models. Bedrock allows you to set up your own knowledge bases and agentic workflows as well behind the scenes. It takes care of capacity for the Titan models and the Anthropic models behind the scenes. It allows you to switch between regions if there are some capacity concerns, because a lot of times these are very compute intensive workloads, these models. So we need to be able to effectively switch between regions to get our output, and that too with compliant with data residency requirements of various customers. So all these features, these superset of features, are known as the Bedrock service from Amazon, which is what SAP is consuming within the Generative AI Hub. And Titan is one of the models that is available via Bedrock. And of course, in a similar manner, the Anthropic family of models also.
So if I understood it right, Anthropic family is coming from kind of like outside, and Titan are models that have been trained by your company. Is it correct? Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Yes. So yeah, we are living all in this jungle of terms and names recently, right? So it's important to clarify some of them. And then the question from Javier. So in terms of architecture, this deployment of AWS Bedrock that you've done in Generative AI Hub, is it running on AWS infrastructure or specific SAP infrastructure where AI core is located? I know the answer, but obviously I just would like to ask you.
Yeah, I can take that. That's a very important question. The AI core is deployed on AWS regions behind the scenes. In fact, one of the slides that Raj showed was showing you the regions in which AI core is deployable on the AWS platform behind the scenes. So it is AWS that is powering AI core from the backend.
Sure. And if anyone wants to ask any other question, then please use chat. And in the meantime, I still have a question from my side. So, talking about these models and large language models, do you see kind of like which multi-model capability do you see or do you think customers might be or should be most interested in? Is it processing text? Is it processing images? Is it processing sound or maybe some other modality?
Yeah, I
Great
can.
question. Go ahead, Raj.
Yeah, I can take a stab at that, and B, you can add as well. Um, so when we are working with customers, actually we are working with customers in multiple industries, and everyone in different industries are using the LLMs and the GenAI in many different ways, right? Like starting from advertising, where they may be using this for creating specific like targeted market outreach, or creating some creative images for and content for advertising and marketing, and product development. There are many different use cases, right? In healthcare life sciences, we are seeing customers use GenAI for their drug discovery and many other steps. So when we work with customers, it's not like are using a text model or using an image model, but we always look at the use case and what is it that is needed for the use case, and we work based upon that. And Abhi, if
Sure.
you want to add something.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. That was wonderful.
And if I would ask you as consumers, do you spend more time generating images or Q&Aing these models?
I can share your personal favorite one. For my wife's birthday, and she did the same for me. We actually generated haikus and questions, puzzles for our friends, and that was my favorite use of this technology.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Uh,
For me, actually, I would say I think I use a lot of the anthropic models. I think more for productivity reasons, right? I think again in Amazon Bedrock, the good thing is within Amazon Bedrock, any data that I provide, that's all private, right? So I think the data doesn't get shared anywhere. So I can be very confident instead of submitting my questions online somewhere. And then we are always working with some very critical, confidential data. So by using models from Amazon Bedrock, I'm very confident that my data stays very private. So that's a favorite use case for me for just work productivity.
Thank you for sharing that. You actually touched the topic that I wanted to ask you. So, because you mentioned working with customers, and still some customers, as I see, they are a little bit afraid of this stuff. Yeah. So what are the main concerns other than privacy that maybe you see when you are working with customers, and how do you kind of like overcome this and still be able to convince customers to get on this journey?
Yeah, I can go first, and then maybe Raj, if you want to add something. Uh, for customers that I work specifically with SAP. We have a lot of use cases, a lot of POCs that seem great when we are using these models. But the biggest thing is scaling them. When you have millions of users, and across time, these millions of users are sending their diverse inputs to these models. You want to make sure that all of these outputs are compliant, and ensuring that there's, we have to design for hallucinations. We have to make sure that those risks are contained. And that's the biggest concern for the folks that I work with. And the way to do that is exactly what SAP is doing, setting up the guardrails, ensuring that the models that are provided through GenAI Hub are the best of the best. Safety and responsible AI is number one priority. And those are the ways that we are mitigating that for end users and customers.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with Abhi. And just to want to add on, I also see customers. One of the challenge is on the cost, right? Everyone has different budgets, and cost is a big thing. So that's why I think my favorite about Amazon Bedrock is it gives you both Amazon models and many different third-party models. So you have a lot of options to choose from. And when we work with customers, we always recommend pick the right model for your use case, right? And you want to balance both like price, performance, and what you need. It's not like you just use the same model for everything, as we have seen in our presentation today as well. You can see the different cost benefits you can get. So I think instead of just sticking with one model, I think you want to experiment a little bit, because these are quick experiments you can run upfront, and that way you can actually easily address your cost concerns. I think that's one of the things, and I agree with Abhi earlier. I think on the hallucinations and other things, I think customers have to be careful about that, hallucinations, accuracy, and other things, right? So you want to make sure. I think that is one thing we always work with the customers, that they're using it for the right use case. So maybe there are use cases where this may not be the right option. So you need to be aware of that as well.
Sure. Because as well, talking to customers, I see in quite many places they are saying, let's do something with Gen AI, yeah.
Correct.
But then the very second question is like, but what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So ideally, we always have use case first, solution second, not solution first, and then thinking what the use case should be. Perfect. I think we will slowly wrap up this session. Thank you both for this great session, for sharing your insights. Should we have more time, I would keep asking you questions, but we need to slowly come to the end. For everyone who is watching this session, you can still post the questions as comments here in the chat or on the event page of SAP Community. Rest assured that we will pass these questions to our presenters, and you will get your answers from them. As well, the validation tutorial to you to prove that you watch the sessions and you understand the sessions will be updated in the description box of this video by the end of the day. Don't forget to check it out just to make sure that you get your points for participating in this session as well. And at the end, thank you everyone for attending this session, and I would like to say take care and goodbye.
Thank you all. Thank you, SAP.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, I finished the stream.